So a few weeks ago I put out a community post asking for your hot takes about Stikbots. And this is what I got. I was just interested in seeing, what do people think about Stikbot? Like, what are some unpopular opinions or hot takes that people have about this beloved product that people have loved for almost 10 years now? Well, that's what I'm gonna find out. I got some responses on YouTube, and I also got some responses on Discord as well. So I'm gonna go through both of them, and then at the end I'm gonna put in my own hot takes / unpopular opinions as well. And also I'm gonna commentate on each people's opinions and hot takes and kind of give my own take on them. Okay, the first one is from TCWD123, aka that channel for everything deluxe. The Stikbot community needs to rely on movies, collabs, or not, in order to thrive as a community for an extended period of time. Sadly, while also relying on shorts. I think what he's trying to say here is that the community needs to rely on movies, collabs, and other stuff to be able to thrive as a community. Which makes sense, because if a community was just a bunch of individual creators making videos, it wouldn't really feel like a community. I do somewhat agree with this, as it felt like before 2020, when there wasn't really too many collabs going on, the community felt shallow despite the fact of having more popularity than it does now. Because nowadays we have so much collabs and, a bunch of other stuff. So I think overall it is a need for a community to thrive. Because if I just compare it to other communities, like for example, the LEGO community, I guess, look at all the collabs that they do, it brings the community together. So yeah, I do agree with that part. I don't fully know if it leads to thriving in the full front, but I'm not too sure. But it definitely is an important aspect. And also going on this point about shorts, listen, shorts aren't as bad as people say they are. As soon as someone starts posting shorts, they're like, oh, shorts bad attention span, this channel's gonna die, Just because shorts get a bunch of views and stuff, doesn't mean that it's a cheap way to get attention to your channel. Yes, people post shorts, and it gets them lots of subscribers and lots of views. It doesn't automatically mean that the channel is really popular. The way that these channels get popular after posting shorts is that they want to post longer form videos. If they post longer form videos that people subscribe for the shorts, then if they do it correctly, then their videos will get popular as well as their shorts. So it's not that bad at all. What's wrong with posting shorts? It just gets your content out to more people, because people are forced to watch at least a few seconds of your video. I think people mainly just complain about this because they're jealous. There's nothing wrong with posting shorts. So overall, I strongly disagree with this. I don't think that shorts are a bad thing. I think they are a good thing overall. Next one from Lil Boy DM. Old Stikbot Central videos are better than the new videos. Now, I do fully agree with this, but I don't think it's a hot take or an unpopular opinion. Many people agree with this statement that the old Stikbot Central videos are better than the new ones, but that's kind of the majority stances on this issue. Now, is this entirely true? Well, it kind of depends. Old Stikbot Central had way more content, way more variety of stuff, and just kind of content for everyone. And it was a lot less directed at kids, even though it kind of was, but it was a lot less. And people say that the newer videos are, there's much less variety, there's hardly any videos per year now, and kind of target audience is more narrow. And while I do agree that the old videos are mostly better, I also kind of have to disagree because I'm recording this right after, a few weeks after Tanka Season 2 ended, and that kind of changed my whole perspective on New Stikbot Central. New Stikbot Central is much more of a focus, and while they have made stuff that isn't, amazing, the real thing that only changes is, besides the entire team changing, is that they don't really have the resources to make as many videos nowadays. So overall, yes, in term, old Stikbot Central videos are better, but there's many different reasons on why they're better. Chuzzle Films says, Off the Grid should have ended on Season 3. Now, again, with the same thing, I wouldn't really call this a hot take, but I would call it an unpopular opinion. I don't think that's crazy to say it should have ended after Season 3, like I personally do. But I also kind of don't in the same way. If Off the Grid literally just ended with Season 3, on that kind of cutoff there, I would say no. The reason why that the ending of Season 3 was like that is because there was plans to make a 4th, 5th, and 6th season. Because after that whole instance at the thing, and then supposedly Shift and Striker die, there's kind of just this mini adventure with Pixel and the town playing where Clint dies. and that's a whole season. Like, it mainly just expands the world more, doesn't really do much of the story, and then they spend an entire season in the Nightmare Realm, which wasn't entirely needed. And then the 6th season actually kind of more progresses the story, where they kind of cap off the story. So yes, if Off the Grid was only going to have 3 seasons, and in that final 3rd season they made a little extra longer with making the whole plotline about getting the grid back, then yes, I do agree it would have ended good if it was going to end on season 3. Now, a lot of people don't really state their opinions on when they think the show should have ended, but I don't think it's a super hot take, because if people kind of lower down their opinions and kind of narrow it down, I think most would agree that season 3 is where it should have ended. Dan Stryker says, Cecilia is the best Off the Grid character. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what people's stances on this is. I mean, Cecilia is a pretty good character. I wouldn't say they're the best character. I think there's other characters that we need to give more light to. Honestly, you know, I can vibe with this. Like, this is an outrageous thing, like saying that, you know, whatever this thing is the best character. But, you know, Cecilia, pretty good character, original to the series. Goose says, KFC is mad overrated. And then the KFC, Kids Filming Club, says, I agree, the food's pretty mid. Chick-fil-A's better. Which, first of all, Chick-fil-A? Really? Of all chicken places to put, you put Chick-fil-A, you know, whatever. And then Pebble says, I'm having KFC for dinner, but Chick-fil-A is better. Okay, what's with all you saying Chick-fil-A is better? It is not better. But then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Stikbot Spot comes in, which, first of all, where have you been? You've been gone for almost 2 years. And then he says, what about Cane's? Now, I don't know what a Cane's is. What on earth is this? This looks like something from the 1980s. So anyways, to elaborate on this opinion, I have no comment. I'm not gonna say if someone's underrated or overrated. So, yeah. Motion says, Off the Grid Nightmare wasn't that bad, and the Morning Edition deserves a second chance. Now, this is a real hot take, because, you know, lots of people really do hate on Off the Grid Nightmare, and say it's the worst thing ever. And the Stikbot Show Morning Edition, yeah, you all know how that went. And honestly, I can see where Motion's coming from, because I've seen his opinions before on the show, and I think it mainly comes down to that people are being way too harsh on the new Off the Grid season just because not like the old one, instead of looking at what actually, you know, makes it the show. And even though I didn't really like Nightmares, like I was dumping on it a year ago, which I kind of regret, because I think the main reason why I was mad at it is because I feel like the show was taking away from what the Stikbot creators actually want to make. Like, look at Zingtanica and look at all the cool stuff they're doing. And it felt like they were just doing Nightmares out of obligation from the fan community. So overall, while I don't think it's amazing, I totally see where Motion's coming from, because, you know, it's a lot of pressure, you know, continuing show. And also, you know, Motion might have actually enjoyed it. And then with Morning Edition, yeah, I fully agree. It deserved a second chance. And guess what? It kind of did get a second chance, because after the massive backlash of the first one, they kind of changed a bunch of stuff up and actually made the show, you know, somewhat decent. But then guess what? No one cared afterwards, because, you know, once they fixed something, people were like, oh, I don't want it anymore. But I kind of do wish it got a second chance. We kind of got that with Spotlight, which, where's Spotlight? I'm kind of missing Spotlight, but oh well. Batman 5 says, I'm not really a big fan of the weird body shapes in Zingtanica Legends. Okay, you cannot say that about my boy, okay? Ziggy says, Stikbot Central sucks these days. They used to be better. This one's pretty harsh. And also, again, I wouldn't say it's a hot take, because I know lots of people say this. But I wouldn't say Stikbot Central sucks. Like, it's not, like, I mean, it could definitely be worse. And yes, I mean, overall, technically, it did used to be better. They had a lot more content, a lot more variety of shows, you know, lots more just diversity. So if you're looking at that aspect, yes, you could say that. But again, I wouldn't really say it sucks. But that's kind of the general consensus, because, you know, hating is what people like to do. So overall, this one, again, not really a hot take. Now I'm just gonna say some of the takes that people put in the comments, which, you know, some of them might have been serious, some of them might not have been. I'm just gonna go through them. Stikbot Street says, Leopold Films is criminally underrated. Oh, thank you, Stikbot Street. I really like the compliment, thank you so much. Yeah, I just put this one in here because no, I hope it's not an unpopular opinion. Then that channel of everything says, Clickbot Mutant Monster Madness is underrated, not gonna lie. A goat probably made that show. Now at first you might be like, oh, why are you saying this one might not be completely serious? Like what if they actually think it's a goat show, Well, that's because it's the creator of the show commenting that, so I don't really know. What's going on with that? Goose says, that Stikbot channel's extremely underrated. Well, that's also the creator saying right there. Maybe saying that, but also I wouldn't really say you're extremely underrated as you're one of the most subscribed Stikbot channels, but Then Jaden's World of Fun says, Jaden's World of Fun makes the greatest videos on the planet Earth, no cap. Again, I don't know how serious this one was, especially that no cap part, because that meme has been dead for like 3 years, but it's a take. And the final part of the YouTube comments, silent Stikbot films are dumb. Now, when I saw this one coming to my feed, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like such a great hot take that I can talk about, which I am still going to talk about. But then I realized that it was Lucas that posted this, and he basically only posts silent Stikbot films, so it was kind of like a self-joke or something. But I don't care, I'm actually going to extend on this thing, because this is actually kind of a hot take. A lot of people say, oh, Stikbot silent films, they're really good, they have so much prestigeness because there's no words. And I would agree, but a lot of time, silent Stikbot films are kind of done wrong. Because the important part about silent Stikbot films is the emotion and the kind of stuff that the characters are presenting. If the characters can't talk, you need to say their movements through body language in order to see what they're saying. But a lot of times, silent Stikbot films do not do that, and then you end up not understanding what's going on. Because you can't have long dialogue sequences explaining stuff, so you really gotta flesh out what you're trying to explain with all these movements in the stop motion. So I would kind of almost half agree with this, because a lot of the time, it feels like silent Stikbot films are done wrong. I mean, Lucas does them right, but a lot of time they're done wrong, and it's difficult to understand what is even happening. But there's a lot of aspects that are really great about Stikbot silent films, especially the fact that you don't really need any languages, so there's no language barrier. But it is kind of difficult if you don't have words explaining your story, so your story kind of needs to be more simplistic. Unless you're really, really good at storytelling and able to convey the entire story through silence. Okay, now that's all the YouTube comments out of the way. Now let's go into the Discord messages. Thank you, Clay, again for putting this in the central server. Just to get more widespread appeal to get more different opinions. Luke says, "What the bot isn't as good as I remember." Now, this is probably a really unpopular opinion from a lot of people. Generally, people say that, oh, What the Bot was one of the best parts of original Stikbot Central. But, as he says here, isn't as good as I remember. Which I actually went back to watch a few What the Bots, and I kind of fully agree with this. It's not as funny as I once thought it was. Now, again, I did watch most of What the Bot when I was 9 years old. But yeah, most of the jokes don't really hit as much. A lot of the humor is really kind of juvenile and stuff, and kind of target a younger audience, which kind of makes sense in hindsight, but I didn't fully realize until I rewatched the show. So yeah, a lot of people would probably disagree with this statement, but yeah, honestly, I kind of see his point now. Hydro says, I never cared for Off the Grid, still haven't watched it. Okay, I don't know how you could judge something if you haven't watched it, but honestly, a lot of people would say, oh no, Off the Grid's amazing, it looks so cool. Okay, I'm sorry, but if honestly you just look at some clips of Off the Grid, it looks like the most boring show ever. The little landscape is a wasteland. The thing I never gave Off the Grid Nightmare credit for is that I made the, show way more vibrant, because look how dull and stuff the sets look. I understand that's the point and stuff, but oh my goodness, it is so dull. But yeah, no, it looks so unappealing, so it kind of actually makes sense why you haven't watched it. Now, there's probably something a lot of people would disagree with. But yeah, no, it does look super, super boring, on the surface. It's not boring watching it, but it just looks so boring. Snowy Molly says, aka just Molly, my hot take is probably the fact that the mutants exist. It's just such a bad product, to be honest. And the only time I saw them was at a museum, lol. I guess that's why they're called mutants, lol. So hideous. Okay, I think you kind of explained your own point. They're called mutants, and they're hideous, but they're not that hideous. They're literally just their mouths just open. Do you have an issue with mouths or something? But also, museum. Really? What museum were they at? Probably a children's museum, if I would have to guess. So I can't really tell if people would disagree with this. Honestly, I feel like people probably would, because it's a UK exclusive. People think anything that's exclusive Stikbot is automatically amazing. Like, for example, the UK clickbots. I'm sorry, but the UK clickbots are just not it. I'm sorry. Hamster Beef says, Stikbot Central fell off after Henry disappeared. I think most people would say that Stikbot Central fell off after the end of Off the Grid. Now, a lot of people wouldn't say it ended kind of, the good side after Henry disappeared. I would personally agree with a statement. A lot of people would probably not agree with it, but I personally would. Henry disappeared in 2019. Guess what else happened in 2019? Oh no. But yeah, no, honestly, I agree with this. A lot of people probably wouldn't. They would either say, oh, the fall off was after the end of the Clickbot show, or the start of the Morning Edition, or when Off the Grid ended. But a lot of people, I don't think, would really say when Henry disappeared. I know that was like a massive meme and stuff, but yeah, no. Now we have the final hot take of this video, and oh my goodness, there's so many! Okay, the E-Second Coming 2, very interesting name, has lots of off-the-grid hot takes. First of all, Vampro was more mid than I remember. Okay, now there would be some people that probably disagree with you on this. Well, honestly, yeah, thinking back to it, Vampro, wasn't as incredible or amazing as most people would, think, because there's such a powerful character in the show. So I think people would honestly disagree with you on this one. So Celia/Queen had to be dumb for the whole thing to happen. No, honestly, this is so true. No, I'm not even going to go into this one. But literally, that is true. Now, yes, this does have to happen because of storytelling. Some characters act dumb because they have to be dumb for story to happen. But no, that's literally true. A lot of people would probably disagree with that, saying like, oh no, it's this big, this big. But no, that's honestly so true. Pixel's voice sounds way better in Nightmare. I'm not going to comment on this one because it's a person's voice, and it feels like they both actors for Pixel were using their regular voices for voice acting, so I'm not going to comment on it. The latter half of season 4 to 6 were kind of bad. Yeah, I kind of went into this, and I think at this point most people do agree with it. That is kind of bad, so I wouldn't really call this a hot take. But a lot of people have different reasons on why they think it's bad. 1, it dragged out the story. 2, Pixel doesn't really work as a main character. 3, it was kind of just going over the place. We should have ended at season 3 to 4. But yeah, no, season 3 to 4, I think that's when it should have ended. I think they should have just made season 3 maybe 25 minutes longer, kind of just wrapping up them getting back the grid, because we didn't really need a big giant battle. I mean, giant battles are nice, but yeah. The Nightmare Realm should have been its own 2 to 3 season show, and only connected and extended to the off-grid canon. Yes, this is so true. There's so much separate videos of the Nightmare Realm that's just posted that just expands more of the series, but it's like, it didn't really need to be in the original show. But I guess the Nightmare Realm was also in Off the Grid Nightmare. So I guess that's what they're kind of talking about, but like, that wasn't really about the Nightmare Realm, that was just about a rescue mission. But no, I agree with this. It would have been cool, kind of just, instead of focusing on the old characters, just having a complete separate show about the Nightmare Realm and kind of explaining what it is. Because I think that would have led some really, really cool analog horror. When Monsters Attack should have been made into a 2-parter. Yes. Now most people probably wouldn't agree with this because they say, oh, When Monsters Attack is an absolute masterpiece. But no, honestly, if it wasn't a 2-parter, I feel like it would just made it better. It almost feels like it could have been a 2-parter, but the indie horror characters should have been replaced for original monsters. Okay, this is a weird one. I think most people would probably disagree with this one. I only disagree with it because the original, monsters, like the Stikbot monsters, didn't exist when the indie horror characters were put in there. But also, they could have made their own original characters. But no, I actually completely agree with this one. We had Bendy and Freddy and stuff, and while that was cool, it felt like they didn't really need to be there. Their characters weren't essential for this story to happen. They literally could have been replaced with any other characters. They're mainly just there to get, the attentions of the YouTube crowd, which I guess is fine, bringing, lots of other people that use popular characters, bringing more viewers, but, we could have probably used original characters. So overall, most people probably would disagree with this, because I like the indie horror characters. I personally say it's not the biggest deal. Queen from Nightmare is like a vampire copy. I wouldn't even say that's a take, I think that's just a fact. Adding anime characters to the show may have dampened the experience. The anime characters made the show way more creepy. The show was supposed to be scary and creepy by adding these terrifying looking characters. it didn't really make the show like more lighter, it made it much more darker, which is the tone they were trying to go for. So honestly, no, I don't think it dampens the experience. Every video should have been made to 7 to 10 minutes long to have better plot points and details. Like, we didn't need 12 episodes per season, probably just could have combined a bunch. But then again, we also had the compilations that they eventually posted a few years afterwards, which kind of like didn't make it as big a deal because everything lines up so well. Like, literally, like, everything's like just one giant long movie. It's just kind of split up into multiple episodes. 7 to 12 minute long episodes, it would have made better plot points for individual episodes because we didn't really have individual episodes. We kind of just had plot points of a overall bigger story. So honestly, I agree with this one. Sign-On / Sniper's arc was kind of rushed. Yeah, it fully was. It literally, like, technically by account, it lasted like 2 seasons, but it was really rushed towards the end. It was like, oh yeah, by the way, this happened. Oh, how are they doing? Oh, they're dead? Oh. No, most people say, oh, this was like a great arc, but yeah, it was kind of rushed. Off-Grid Nightmare should have been 12 episodes, 6 to 7 minutes long, and 3 seasons. No, I fully disagree with this. There wasn't that much story to tell in Nightmare. That's why it was only like 22 minutes long. If they had better plot points, it probably could have been a lot better. But there wasn't that much to tell overall. I would say it's probably the perfect length for what it was. If they had one aspect that could have made it just a little bit longer, then it probably would have worked. What the bot could have been said with more replacing words for better line delivery. Okay, I think what they're trying to say is that when they say what the bot in the show to kind of, you know, have their own language in the universe, that should have been replaced with different words, which is a really hot take because people really like when Stikbot characters say what the bot. But honestly, I kind of do agree with it. It felt kind of forced, you know, when the character kind of dropped the name thing. It's kind of like in that one scene in Click Bomb You Monster Madness when they're like, spark in a dark place, line, Click Bomb You Monster Madness, dot, episode 7. You know, see, it doesn't really flow like that when I say that. So honestly, yeah, I agree. Like, it doesn't really flow that well. I don't know what words they would replace it with, but yeah, it felt kind of forced. But it gave its show its own identity. A 20-minute short film that takes place in the grid, Kane Pixel style, should have been the way to end a legacy better than a sequel series. I don't really know what they're trying to go for with this one. Like we're saying Kane Pixel style, aka the person that kind of did the whole backroom stuff, but kind of like a short film thing instead of a sequel series. Yeah, I agree with. We did not need a giant sequel series. We just needed like maybe some short thing. We didn't even really need any sequel stuff, but if we had to get sequel stuff, I feel like a 20-minute short film would have been way better. But yeah, no, that's interesting. Oh my goodness, that was a lot of hot takes. But yeah, thank you for those. Yeah, no, that was really good. So yeah, those were all the hot takes / unpopular opinions that you guys kind of commented and discorded. They were really interesting to read through because some of these I kind of did expect, but some of them were kind of interesting. My hot take that I have that I want to say used to not be a hot take, but I'm just going to say it. I'm sorry, but I do not like clickbots. They're terrible to animate with. They're just annoying. They break too much, which was the consensus like 2 or 3 years ago, but nowadays people say, no, clickbots are amazing. I don't know, maybe I'm just animating with them wrong, but I can never understand what the hype around clickbots are. Maybe one day I'll figure it out, but for now, I can't really figure it out. Well, I'm Leopold, and bye.